would you add an extra layer of protection into your knitting project? Would you reinforce a heel, or might you think about casting a spell? Join me and this week's guest, Louisa Demmitt from Skacel Collection, as we explore examples of how they can work together and get your creative juices flowing. Light from Lantern presents Knit a Spell. I'm your host, Katie Rempe, designer, knit witch, and your companion in this magical making podcast. Together, let's explore the enchanted world where knitting meets the magic of the craft. Welcome, Louisa, to the show.
Thank you. So nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Let's start off with, you're at Skacel now.
Yes.
How did knitting enter your life?
Well, my mom taught me to knit. She's a lifelong knitter. And I went to college in Maine, and I don't do snow sports, winter sports, any of that stuff. And I really needed something to pass the cold, dark hours when all my friends were out doing those things. So I really got into knitting at that point and picked it up off and on over the years, put it down, picked it up, put it down. But really came back to it a lot over and over again, over other hobbies that have kind of come and gone. But it's kind of that safe space of, I know how to do this. I know how it works. I know that I can use it in a lot of really fun, different ways. And actually, also in college, I did my senior thesis on New England folk art and looking at the things that are artistic creations, but are also functional. So historically, that kind of art has been overlooked, thinking about like quilts that people made and sweaters that people knit that, yes, now we're like, oh my gosh, this is gorgeous. But at the time, it's like, no, I need this to keep warm. This is for actual survival. So I really got into a lot of different kinds of crafts, from pottery to wood carving, all that kind of stuff that is sort of incidental along the way and people might not think about as being an actual craft. And knitting is just one of those things as well that I just love to do. And that background in a very long, circuitous way.
It's a little easier to carry around knitting than like woodworking and things like that.
Like a pottery wheel.
Yeah. You can bring a little like whittling, but like
That's
bringing
true.
the whole wheel out, it's kind of like bringing the whole floor loom, It's an investment. It's a statement.
Exactly. And I mean, to your point, knitting and crochet, both, I crochet as well. Both of them, I feel like, have a really great time and place, but being able to take stuff with you, keeping your hands occupied. I have a lot of anxiety just in life in general, and being able to know that, okay, well, I'm going to go out to this new place, but I can bring my knitting. I have that as a grounding kind of safe thing, has always been really helpful.
Yeah, I love that security blanket aspect.
For sure. 100%.
And so then how did it go from hobby to being a job?
After college, I actually ended up going to culinary school, and I worked in kitchens, bakeries, that kind of stuff off and on, and realized I kind of needed a full-time, more stable job. And I had been looking into editing roles, and there was an assistant editor job open at Interweave, which was in Fort Collins, Colorado. I was in New York. I was looking to get west, and I got the job. So I started as an assistant editor at Interweave and worked there for 5 or 7 years, something like that. Also ended up working in instructional design, so helping work with designers such as yourself to make a class out of a pattern or out of a technique, coming up with kits to go with that kind of thing. From Interweave, I then worked at Craftsy doing a lot of the same stuff. It was Craftsy Blueprint for a while. Now it's back to Craftsy. Then I worked for a really cool company in San Diego called The Crafters Box, which does videos paired with kits. And in COVID, moving, changing locations to be here in Seattle for my husband's work, I was looking for something in the craft realm. It's just where I ended up professionally. And this position came open at Skacel. So I think my title is Creativity and Content Marketing Coordinator. It's content marketing for Skacel and for our retail arm, Makers Mercantile, working with people here on a little bit of everything from our print publication to social media and newsletter and all that kind of stuff. And it's been a really cool blend of things that I've learned along the way in different roles, synthesizing, to use that awful corporate word, but synthesizing
It works
into.
in this case. Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate that. But, coming together in a way that is really heartening and challenging in good ways and also just incredibly fun. That is how I got to be here. The twists and turns in life have led me to these cool opportunities that have led me to this one.
People do not realize how few jobs there are in our industry, especially of quote, real jobs, ones
Right.
that'll offer you benefits and like a living wage and
Oh,
full-time
totally.
work.
Yes, it's so true. I mean, it's tough in so many different creative fields, like cooking and baking. That's also a creative field, and it's tough to get jobs where you have health insurance and have sick days if you need them, that kind of thing. But it is also, it's very fun. It's creative, and it does also mean that sometimes I have to take a break from knitting because I end up doing it for work, and then you go home and you're doing your thing for work that is your hobby, and you're like, you know what? I am not less stressed. I am more stressed.
Nothing will change your point of view on your hobby than making it your career path.
Oh my
Hey,
gosh. Yeah, I
talk
was gonna
to any
say,
yarn store owner. They're not sitting around knitting. Spoilers.
no, 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 no. And I think we all think that's what it would be. And then you get into it, and it's like that's maybe 3% of what it is. And the rest of it's really not glamorous, but it's so appreciated. I mean, all that care putting into curating collections and doing knit alongs, all that kind of stuff is great. But man,
You have to love it.
that's well said. You really do. Because
Yeah.
otherwise, too much.
Yes. Yes. And so we end up working many hats. And when you're working in small companies, you end up doing, as you have just said with your title, more than one position, perhaps within the same position.
Totally.
But that is kind of like a superpower, don't you think?
Well, I appreciate you saying that. Yes, I agree because I love it that no 2 days are the same and you don't necessarily know what's happening next week. I don't know. I have a rough framework, I have some ideas, but things can change pretty quickly when you're in a smaller company because you don't have to go through the however many layers of chain of command or whatever you want to call it. Like I can just go and talk to Rob, president of the company, if I have an idea, or he can talk to me, or everybody can talk to each other and just be like, yeah, let's do that, or let's make this change. And it makes it much more interesting because I have worked for bigger companies in the past where you just kind of like, okay, well, this is my idea. And in 7 months, maybe I'll get a yes or no. But being able to be more nimble and, as you said, wear a lot of different hats and do a lot of different things, to me makes the time go by faster. And that's awesome because I don't want to work a job where it feels like, every day is 25 hours long. But when you're engaged and excited, the time goes by because you're putting that energy in. That has been really nice being here. Not to mention, employee discount is top tier. No, no
Ooh.
complaints.
You may think you're knitting more, you're really just buying more yarn.
They give you the money, you give them the money back. Like it's
It's just a loan.
right. Basically, that's what it feels like sometimes. Of all the things I could be spending money on, I feel like yarn's pretty okay.
That's true. It's like the least bad addicting habit, I think. One of
Yeah,
them, anyway.
one of
Yeah.
them for sure.
And so, one of the many projects that you work on at Skacel and through Makers Mercantile is
Mhm.
one called WanderKnits. And so,
Yes.
what is this little project?
So this is a program that Skacel has been doing for a couple of years now. And the idea is to wander with your knitting, go around the globe from your home. So we work with designers or work with our in-house design team to come up with projects that are inspired by different locations. And the idea being that you learn something about the place, you get a little context for what's the history of the craft in this place? What kind of colors and patterns do you see? It's just a little tasting of the culture in a different location, and you get patterns to go along with that. Usually, these are accessories that are one size project hats, cowls, mitts. We've done some home decor, and the patterns are generally inspired by artistry of the different locations. So when we traveled to Holland, there's a really beautiful Dutch tulip colorwork pattern on those designs. When we were in Mexico, the designer was inspired by the Talavera tradition of tile painting. So that came into play not only in the patterns, but in the colors she selected. So it's things like that. And it's just a fun way to think about projects a little differently with a little bit more focus on a location and a history and just to learn a little bit because sometimes we're in our own echo chambers and just seeing how different people interpret different things around the world is very interesting and fun. Don't forget fun.
What, knitting's fun? What?
No way.
Sometimes we do forget that. It's a good reminder.
It's true. The way that these projects come out, though, I did want to mention because it has changed. We have a publication that I know you have worked on in the past called the Skacel Magalog, which is magazine catalog. And that comes out twice a year. So we are putting WanderKnit patterns into the Magalog. So the way you can get these patterns is through the Magalog, which is a free publication available through your LYS community.
I've always loved a magalog, even before I spent my time at Skacel. It was
Yeah.
a publication that was started before I worked there. And when I worked at the yarn store, it was something we always look forward to. It was such a wonderful resource of what's new with the company. And everybody was always interested. What's new? What new colors are there? So it was almost like going to a trade show, but like
Right.
anytime you want, you just open it up. Got some
Yeah.
cute little patterns, wonderful resources to share with your clientele, the
Yeah.
knitting community. And it's free. Did you hear her say it's free?
It's free. Yeah.
Didn't you work at a magazine place
I
that
did.
like charged for magazines?
Yes, I did. I did. But the magazine I mostly worked for is no longer in publication. And we were talking about this in the office. The print landscape for knitting and crochet has changed a lot in the past, 5 years, even in the past year. And I know that a lot of people do a lot of stuff on their iPads or their readers. Get your patterns however you want. But as a paper person, I love the tactile experience of being able to hold it in my hand and look at it and refer back to it, dog ear the pages if it's my magazine, not my book, because I'm not a monster. But sorry, just make that clear. But just like you said, I remember this Skacel Magalog before I worked here, and it was fun. It was exciting to see something that had real people in it talking about real projects, a little designer Q&A, maybe learn what Addie and Schoppel are up to over in Germany, and get you inspired by what we're making. And then also we get to see what you're making after it comes out because we've had a lot of great feedback, people making projects from the Maglog and then sharing pictures. It's just been a nice new way or revitalized way, I should say, because it's been around for a while, but a revitalized way to have a back and forth communication with people that is old school on paper, which I love.
People still like old school things. So
Yeah.
I think there is still room for it. I was just talking to Ellen Thomas, designer of Chili
Yeah.
Dog, and we were talking about how knitting patterns have changed so much where 10 years ago, you would go into a local yarn store expecting to find a printed paper pattern, like a
Right.
selection of them. And now I would never suggest that to a yarn store owner. Like, you want
Totally.
dead stock? No problem. Get a printed pattern. Ravelry really changed the game with that one.
I agree. And that's a very interesting difference because if you are expecting to walk into a store and kind of be able to take the pattern, take the needles, take the yarn, that's not the way it works as much. There's still some magazines and there's still the Maglog and a few other publications that you could get inspiration from. But for the most part, you kind of have to know what you're looking for or get a lot of help from someone at the shop to find what you're looking for.
This is a much quicker way to find some inspiration than going through 10 million Ravelry pages.
Agreed.
And so for this round of WanderKnits, it is Iceland.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert, everyone, guess who the featured designer is?
It's Katie.
I worked there and they're still willing to work with me. Yay!
Yes.
What was the deciding factor on Iceland for this round?
We have an ongoing list, a running list of places that people on staff are interested in exploring. And we have a map on our website, skacelknitting.com/wanderknit. It's a map of the world and it has icons that show where we've been. So as we're traveling the world, honestly, we're looking at making sure we're not all only in the northern hemisphere or only in the southern hemisphere, only east west. We're trying to crisscross. We're jumping all over because that changes your seasonality. It changes, is it going to be lace or is it going to be cables? All of that kind of stuff changes when you think about your location. So Iceland fit the bill as far as thinking fall, something that would be cozy, but it is also rainy a lot in Iceland, and from my understanding, can be quite chilly year round. Also, Iceland has a really rich craft history and a really rich knitting history. So that is something that we were thinking about. And then also we think about what yarn we want to showcase for the different locations. So each location is paired with a haiku yarn. And this one is paired with haiku sueño, which is a blend of superwash merino and viscose from bamboo. So you get drape and you get stitch definition and all this stuff. And I know we can talk about that later. But when we're thinking about location plus yarn, what makes sense, what goes together, what palettes work. Sueño was on our list. Iceland was on our list. We've got fall, and it just felt like a perfect coming together of all the things.
I, for one, was very excited to have both of these options available to me because I have spent much time working with Sueño. I know the wide variety of color palette that it is
Right.
available there. And knowing the Icelandic climate and scenery, I was like, oh, there's a dozen amazing colors that could go together in
Yeah.
the perfect, like, muted color palette, or you change out a few and you can make it a little bit brighter. I mean, really dynamic in terms of the combinations that you can offer,
Yeah.
which is why I also wanted to make sure that the patterns I designed had at least two colors in them.
Yes, which I appreciate. And I feel like is a really nice way to show off the palette as a whole, but then also show off the stitch definition when you get multiple colors in there. So when you pitched two colors, I was like, mind melt. Excellent.
It was funny because even though I am not Icelandic in culture, I am very
Right.
interested in Iceland.
Yeah.
I happened to meet through another witchy friend of mine, the manager of the Witchcraft and Sorcery Museum of Iceland. I also love one of Iceland's local pop stars, which is Dathi Freyr. We had just seen him in concert in Seattle before
Small
you had
world.
done this. So I was happy to put my witchy spin on things. The more we talked, the more I was like, this is a perfect pairing.
Completely agreed. And also, we had discussed, we're coming into witchy season for others who might not normally embrace full-time witchiness, which I'm not sure if witchiness is a word, but it should be if it isn't.
I use it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can ease people into the idea of a magical lifestyle a little bit easier
Yes.
around Halloween time.
Right.
And then they realize it's practical magic. You have to do stuff. It doesn't just happen on its own generally.
But like everything else in life, you have to do stuff for stuff to happen.
I have never once successfully put all of my yarn and needles and a pattern in a box out by the troll hole with an offering and had it knit up the next day. It's just not happening for me. Maybe I'm not putting the right offering out.
Man, that would be really cool.
So let's talk about the patterns.
Yay.
I was inspired by Icelandic staves and symbols, sigils that were used in historical grimoires back in
Right.
the day. And so I wanted to create my own sigil in a similar style, but as a modern version. So
Yeah.
this is my modern take on a protection sigil, which looks like this. So you can see my little drawing up here in the corner. Essentially, it is a square with an X coming out of the middle and then almost like a Y on each side of those. So in this particular instance, the square represented four sides. Number four is very stable, foundational. And then in the center, what I really thought it was is it looks like a compass. So
Yes.
from every direction, we want protection.
That sounds like somebody's are you selling
From
alarms
every direction, we
for
want a protection. Oh, yeah.
home
yeah,
alarm
right.
systems?
From every direction, your protection.
All joking aside, it's just a lovely way to think about it.
Who's to say you could be limited with just putting this on your knitwear? If you felt like you needed protection anywhere, go draw it on your car. And then at the end here, so each of the directional crosses ends with a little Y, which I always think is looks like victory. Woohoo! When you throw your hands up. It's also the symbol algais in the Norse runes. And that also is a symbol of protection and
Cool.
stability. So we're bringing it all in, all to the center, and that's getting sort of trapped in the
Yeah.
square so that you can have it in you wherever you want it.
I knew some of that. I didn't know all of that. So I've learned even more, which just makes me like it even more. That's really cool.
Yay. It's hard to be succinct in one paragraph about what everything is. So I knew this episode would give me an opportunity to like really go at length to explain.
When you were talking about the square, you were talking about what it means. And I think you said what it means to you. So there's whatever the broader world or history says this means, but then you could also put your own feeling into it and what it means to you, because what it means to you is just as, if not more important than everything else.
Totally. If you hate a color and people are still trying to push it on you, then
Uh,
you're not going to like it anymore.
Makes complete sense.
It went through many iterations because what did I forget? Knitting is pixelated.
Right.
So if you're trying to do lots of circular things and rounded
Hmm.
elements, you need a lot of space in order to kind of make that happen.
Right.
But if
Right.
you go with more like squares, you can make use of knitting's ultimate pixelation patterning. Just go with the nature of the business. Don't try to make it what it's not, right?
That's so true. Don't make it harder than it has to be.
Sometimes the design process is partially practicality.
And also remembering when you're designing things that not only do you have to make it, you're making it so other people can make it. So if you are suffering while you're designing and while you're making it, that's going to translate, that's going to come through to the end user. And as a person who then has to talk to those end users who are frustrated with the pattern, I appreciate you not making it harder than it needs to be.
I don't know what you're talking about. Every knitter always understands everything, and it's very nice if they don't.
Yes,
Yes,
100%.
we go through great lengths to anticipate any troubleshooting needs as much as possible.
It's a good reminder that we're all human and we're all doing our best.
That's right. Stay humble. Don't be perfect. It's lame and it's boring.
Right, exactly.
For this sigil, I thought it would be fun to do two different sizes. One is on this very lovely hat. There it is. Of
Gotta
me,
show the double.
I love a folded, flippable brim
Oh,
in
so
a
nice.
contrasting color. Ooh,
Yep.
for anyone listening, it's a folded hem, and the folded hem is in gray. And then the rest of the hat transitions into a beautiful rust color. And the sigil is right on the front, the first 4 inches, so that you can literally bring the protection right on your forehead, just like they would have done historically. And so, a nice complement to a hat, I always
Oh,
think,
yes.
is a cowl. But I didn't want it to be like, oh, well, we'll just put the exact same sigil right in the middle. I
Yeah.
wanted it to be a little different. So I miniaturized the same sigil and I made it into this little motif, which
Yeah.
then repeats on each side here. And the two colors are like a balanced yin yang feeling here.
And you have a really nice texture in the center. I'm looking down because I have one here too. I have the rust
Ooh,
here,
yes.
but in this middle part, there's some really nice garter, and that's more triangular.
Yes. As part of a balanced element, you'll often find two triangles, one pointing up and one pointing down. So that's
Ah,
like your hexagram. It's
yeah.
the male and the female aspect. It's the yin
Okay.
and the yang. It's the plus and the minus. It's that whole
Gotcha.
idea. And so since this was such like a balanced cowl, it goes from the one color to the other, but it's pretty
Yeah.
much the same pattern. I thought, oh, well, this symbolically is the perfect shape to be in there.
Oh, I love that.
Plus, I love threes. Pretty much all my patterns have like threes and nines as a running
Okay.
number that are within them. So,
Okay.
spoiler alert.
So is there a specific reason threes and nines? I love odd numbers just because they tend to feel more grounded and whole, and that's what you find in nature. But what about the specifics of threes and nines?
They're vortex numbers. 3 threes are a nine.
Yeah.
But if you have 2 threes, it's a six. That's an even number. And then nines have that whole thing where like No matter how many nines you put together, it can be reduced to 9.
Yeah,
They're really
that's
magical
cool.
numbers, like,
Yeah.
the witch, the power of 3 kind of a thing. Plus, mathematically, it just always seems to work out really easy. If
Yeah.
something has 3s as its base, it usually is pretty easy to put in a stitch pattern or pretty
Yeah.
easy to put in some ribbing. So,
That makes complete sense.
yeah.
I also like with 3s, you get a middle stitch. So if you're knitting something in the round, you have those 2 stitch markers on either side of your middle stitch. You know where your halfway point is. It's a nice
Mhm.
centering thing. I
Totally.
like
That
that.
pyramidal, like, point of
Yes.
power kind of thing.
Cool.
So, these are the beautiful patterns. When
Yes.
does the Magalog for this one come out approximately?
Definitely before Halloween.
Well,
Yeah.
hey, by Halloween, they could be showing up in your local yarn store.
Yay!
Woo! Is it ever available online?
We have not put the 2 most recent editions up online yet, simply because we're looking for a better platform to host it. Because if it's just a PDF, that's fine, but it's not great. There's some better interactive platforms. And so we're just trying to find what we want to do. The goal is to have it online. I would not swear that it will be online, but it is something that we are working toward.
Very good. Okay, Louisa, let's pretend that you were
Mhm.
designing your own protection sigil. What are some elements that you might include in your own design?
I've always really liked triangles. And when you were talking about the up and down triangle and the pyramids, that's really, really cool. I like the grounding aspect of it. If you have a 3-legged stool, you'll always be balanced because it doesn't matter what length the legs are, all 3 of those points can be on the same plane. Whereas once you have a 4th leg, you can be all over the place. So I think I would probably have some triangles. I really like the hourglass kind of idea. And then that could lend itself to 2 triangles coming together, passing of time, sand in the hourglass, that kind of
Mm.
thing. And when you mentioned the compass aspect of yours, I really like that a lot. Encompassing space and time, all the directions, forward, backward, east, west, north, south, and all the time. I was also thinking about things that could be knittable or could be some of the runes I was looking at and the older examples of sigils have these really gorgeous swoopy curves that are just amazing. And then I thought that's just going to look clunky if I were to try to knit that or stitch that. So I think triangles, some sort of cross compass rose type thing, but not a circle. The only other thing that I really would love to have included is some sort of like dog paw print, but it's a lot of little circles, maybe
Hmm.
baubles.
Oh,
Uh
yes. Yes,
little,
bubbles.
little
Yes.
tiny little bauble beans. Because I mean, anytime, any place, forward, backward, up, down, all around, that there should be dogs in my mind.
I concur.
I came to.
Concur.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Eh.
Yes.
I love that. Why not add different textural elements of knitting into a knitted sigil? Duh. Like, I didn't even think about I didn't even
Well,
think about that.
but
And we were just
honestly,
talking about baubles for like bobblemancy, divination
right.
and stuff, but of course, why not that?
Well, I was thinking about it talking to you when we did our photo shoot, and you were talking about carvings and how things are carved. And then you not only have the visual element, but you have the textural element. And I was like, huh, well, knitting, you could kind of think of it like carving, like you start with everything in stockinette and then maybe you bring it up with garter. You prompted the thought. Whether you thought the thought or not, I thought the thought because of you. So
Well, good. It's a circle of inspiration.
there
That
we
works.
go.
That's the
There we
best.
go.
All right. My final question. Starting a project is easy and it's fun, but what motivates you to finish your projects?
Wanting to start another project.
Oh, wait a minute. Are you a one project at a time kind of person?
So I am a one personal and one work project at a time person because it used to be chaos and I'd have all these whips everywhere and get annoyed with myself that I didn't stick through it. And I mean, with Ravelry, there's always new stuff. There's always new inspiration. Designers are so creative and always coming out with wonderful things I want to make. But I have started, honestly, in the past 3, 4 months. Okay, finish this project, and then you can do the next project. So the next project might change. I have a whole list of things that I want to do, things I have yarn for. I might change that based on seasonality or what I'm feeling like doing. But what gets me to finish a project is wanting to start another one because I got so mad at myself with all these whips that I was like, there's nothing wrong with these projects. I just got distracted by something shiny. But then this was shiny at one point. So try to remember the shine goes
Yes.
around.
Eventually, it loses its luster when you're not
Right.
looking at it anymore.
Right. Well, also, I have to say, I had some sweaters on the needles and maybe my body changed and suddenly this sweater was going to be too small and it's gone the other way where suddenly this, nice form-fitting sweater is going to be oversized. It can go back and forth. So I'm trying to finish things, especially if they're sized within a reasonable time so that they will likely fit me as opposed to putting them in a closet for 6 years and then being like, why didn't I just finish that last sleeve?
I just had to weave in ends.
Oh
It's
my,
actually done.
like it needs to be blocked. That's it. Weave in ends and block it, and it would be great. Yeah,
In 5 minutes, I could be wearing this.
I know. I know. So that's how I am currently managing that. We'll see how long it sticks. But so far, it's been a solid few months with that approach.
I think you are very diligent. Like you said, it's annoying to know that they're out there, right?
Yeah.
I have opened projects where I've been like, I don't even like this anymore. I don't like the
Right.
pattern. I don't like the yarn. Like, I'm 4 sizes a difference.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
and then
Exactly.
you just feel bad all around, which is
Right.
why I use every Mercury retrograde, which happens 2 to 3 times a year, to review all of my works in progress and rip shit out. Or, like, I haven't done anything between now and the last time I looked. Well, that's probably a good sign.
It's like clothes in your closet. If they've been in there a full calendar year and haven't moved from the hanger, it's probably okay to let them go.
Yes.
And I have a really big problem pulling out projects. I hate it. I will fudge the heck out of a pattern if I've made a mistake. If it's for me, if it's for work, I just had this conversation with my coworker Kyle because I made a mistake in something and I had to take it back and I almost started crying yesterday because I was like, I don't want to do this. This is terrible. Because I did this work and now I have
Yeah.
to take it out. But then trying to remember that like so many things in life, it's about the journey, not the destination. But if I don't knit the thing that I got the yarn for, and then I take it out, I'm like, well, this yarn was destined to be that sweater. And then I took that sweater out, and now what is its destiny? I don't know. It ends up feeling kind of lost.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to actually do gauge swatches for sweaters and actually take correct measurements and do all that stuff and finish them in a reasonable time frame.
Lessons that we can all learn. Before I let you go, I want to do our last little segment here. All season long, I have been using this bag of color swatches to inspire
Ooh.
what the energy for the upcoming week for the Knitting Collective is going to be. So I'm going
Okay.
to pull one and then
Okay.
we will see based on the color what we feel like the energy is going to be.
Ooh.
Oh, here we go. All right. We have number 85, lavender.
Ooh. I like that. Like Scottish Highlands, little pops of color, thistle kind of thing, fog and tea with steam coming up.
Oh, it would
What?
be a good color actually in this scheme
Yeah,
here.
it
Get one
would.
of those purples in here.
Right. Well, I mean, it could lean more, you could say it's more pastel and go more spring, but I feel like if you surround that with some really lovely grays and even, oh, like it's a
Ooh,
sueño gold.
ooh, yeah.
It's kind of like a heathered purple. It's not purple, it's calm purple.
At the time this will air, it'll be, October time. I feel like
Yeah.
purple and orange and black are very of the season.
Right.
Purple's very intuitive and psychic, but it's a light color. It's a friendly, not going to freak you out. Ease into it. So if this is like the week that you're thinking about blooming a little bit of magic into your life, perhaps you'll want to cast on one of my sigil related patterns to give your own magical expertise in making a go.
Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe you're knitting something that color this week.
Then you're just sight beacon ahead of the game. So
That's right.
well done.
Oh, Louisa, thank you so much for coming on and talking about WanderKnits and
Yeah.
protection sigils.
Thank
How
you.
can people keep up with Skacel and everything that's going on with you guys?
Well, we have a newsletter that comes out once a week. You can sign up for that on our website, which is skacelknitting.com. And we are also on Instagram and Facebook as Skacel Knitting or Skacel Collection, depending on where you find us. We do giveaways once a month. You have to be in the US or Canada to win, but everyone is welcome to participate. We have a couple fun things going on in the fall with Scoreboard, which is related to football, and some giveaways associated with that. Basically, find us on social media and our newsletter. And of course, keep an eye out for the maglog in your LYS.
Woohoo! Yes, and I'll make sure to link everything mentioned in the description so it'll be
Awesome.
easy peasy for everyone to find it. Now, don't forget, everyone, Louise and I will be hopping into the after show here in just a minute where you can continue the party. We'll be talking more about sigils and all sorts of fun stuff. For $5 a month, you can unlock this and all of the after shows, plus everything else that has been uploaded into the Patreon, a large collection of archival information for you to unlock and enjoy for just $5 a month.
Awesome.
All right, everyone. We will see you next week. Thank you again, Louisa. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, consider sharing it with a friend, leaving a review on iTunes or Spotify, and supporting us on Patreon to enjoy exclusive content. You can also subscribe to the Light from Lantern YouTube channel to receive a notification whenever a new episode of Knit a Spell is released. And as always, I'd love to hear your feedback on this episode, so be sure to leave a comment on YouTube or on Patreon. See you next week!